Hi. So, welcome to Finding Your Light Within Chaos. And at this point, this actual time that this um, gathering is happening and this recording is being made, we have a set of circumstances in the U.S. and in the world, um, and that is what it is right now. And truly this the practice and the guidance that we'll go through during this time together really can be called upon at any point, any time things feel a bit chaotic and overwhelming, um, unfair, unjust, hopeless, anything like that, or you simply feel um, out of your center, like you've stepped into the hurricane from the eye. It's swept into the winds around you, where you feel like you need more anchoring so that you can flow with what's going on. So know that even though that in the collective right now, there, there's many people who are uh, feeling very similar things for different reasons, and this can also be applied at any time. So what we'll do is I'm going to talk for just a bit, but I invite you to close your eyes while we do that. While I do that, let your body just settle into what is right now. And much of this, I have had this session flowing into me since I think Wednesday night. Didn't sleep at all Wednesday night. Um, and kind of basically woke up at very early in the morning with this intention to share this. Um, if you've worked with me before, you'll recognize a lot of the teaching and maybe even the technique. Some of this will be me guiding you through certain visualization um, and direction of your attention and intention. And even if you miss what I say, or you fall asleep even, or go into a deep meditative state, let that be okay. You can't do this wrong at all, and we're meeting you right where you are. And I invite you to extend that, meeting things where they are and what exists. Um, with as much compassion as available to you in the moment, with as much grace as available to you in the moment, um, as much acceptance as is available to you in the moment, and that will be enough. So we have one. So to begin, just simply focus on breath. We'll start with just that. And as you do this, and you notice other thoughts and feelings or body sensations coming up, I invite you to acknowledge that and then decide to come back to the breath, come back to focusing on the inhale. Maybe there's a space and then there's an exhale, and a space at the end of the exhale before you inhale again. And just whatever your natural rhythm, your cadence, your breath wants to do now, let that be just perfect. Don't try to change anything or make it different. Become an observer of the breath. And anything else that comes in to disrupt you from that attention and intention, just simply say, yes, I'll get back to you later, and come back to breath. So inhale and exhale. As you do that, I'd like to acknowledge the light and the inner wisdom that is here on this call and in the intention of the people that may not be here right now and anyone who might be listening to this in the future. That is inherent in us already, that the light, the availability of stepping into our center, of our highest wisdom and our highest guidance in whichever way you know that you connect to it, and even in the ways that you're not yet aware of. I invite you all, as I acknowledge that, to open up the possibility of connecting to that light, to that wisdom with ease. Whatever way ease is experienced by you. And while tonight is not so much a night of focusing, or this recording is not so much a focusing on uh, what is uh, contracting or what is, the stories and the perspectives we have about what might we be applying causation to for any contraction that we're having. It is useful to simply note from this place of connection to knowing that highest guidance, that the light gets through no matter what. It's useful to acknowledge that sometimes the world is loud and sometimes the world feels sharp. Sometimes our experiences with people close to us feels sharp and loud and uncomfortable. Sometimes that is what is existing on our path. And so anytime we notice that, we have a choice of whether to entangle with that uh, in a way that we might experience as stuck, or um, maybe wanting to commiserate, because there is some movement that happens when we might commiserating, meaning we with other people who are sharing the same thing, we sort of uh, purge that with our words, and sometimes that's useful. It's the staying there that can begin to feel not so useful anymore. It's more difficult to connect to um, inspired action, uh, what the next steps may be when we have the lens of of all kinds of things that cause contraction, of blame, of guilt, um, of anger, of disappointment, um, and even, grief that stays. So we can do both. We can acknowledge that there's an experience happening, and our response to it is contraction. And then take a deep breath in, and then, especially when many of us have the intention in that moment to shift that, we can set it aside and see what else is possible to connect with, to feel. So, with my whole heart, I acknowledge and have compassion for, however, I put the word chaos in the title of this. However, you might be feeling disruption, um, disappointment, dis-ease. And I'm going to invite you now to simply resist nothing, to allow fully what's in our experience now. Allowing doesn't mean that you agree with everything, categorically agree, undeniably agree. It just simply means that you are willing to allow that this experience exists. So no resistance, only flow. And in whatever way that you would be willing to set aside, to allow the flow and to resist. And for now, basically drop the things that are part of not allowing. Um, I can name a bunch of things. I don't know. I'm not getting the guidance to name them again. Blame is loud right now. Let's see if we can drop blame. And simply allow what is for the purpose of what we're doing here tonight. And so to guide you with that, imagine that any pieces that you are still connected to that keep you from simply being completely here now. Imagine that we can very easily, as we are willing, it's all it takes is to be willing that for now to drop, put aside the resistance. And when we do that, the knots loosen up, the ties get uh, not as taut. There's more space. And it's more easily to simply disentangle. So imagine now that you are pulling all the pieces of yourself back into yourself, just like there's pieces of string and yarn and rope that were out connected in the world. And right now you're just gently bringing that all back into you, disentangling from everything else. You can simply do this in your mind's eye, imagining that the observer of you is helping you collect all of this back into yourself. And when that feels complete, just simply breathe in and breathe out. And I'm going to invite you to imagine that you can breathe in through the very top of your head. And there's an acupressure and acupuncture point there, and the very highest point when you're sitting and or standing. Just imagine that that spot is opening up about the diameter of a quarter. And as you breathe in, you're not only activating that spot, but activating the parts of your brain that the practitioners of Chinese medicine know it to be connected to. And in this part of your brain, possesses the ability and the information to disconnect and just be here, be now in this place. So inhaling through the top of the head, the center, top of the head. Bring in the breath into the middle of the brain. And on the exhale, send it out in all directions. As though you can exhale through from the center of your brain out around your head. Inhale into the spot or through the spot in the top of your head and bring it into the center of the brain. amygdala, hypothalamus, pituitary pineal gland, all those other center structures. And as you do this, see what else is available to you to relax more, flow more, react less. Now breathing in through the top of the head some more. Bring the breath lower into the heart center. So bringing the breath down through the top of the head, through the brain, down the neck, and into the heart center. Inhale. And exhale out from the heart center. Imagining you can send the breath out around all the space in the heart and around the heart and expand that out. And now bringing the breath lower into the spot below the navel, in the belly, or it's not really the belly, the lower abdomen there, below the navel. The spot that contains your pelvis and also a little above that. Breathe in through the top of the head, through the brain, down the neck, the heart, and into the belly. Now inhale through that same spot in the top of your head and bring light breath, energy, however you see it or might call it, in your imagination or in your experience, bring it down through the top of the head. And this time, send it all the way through your feet while still keeping the intention that your brain and the structures of the brain are invited to balance with whatever energy is useful now. The heart, all of the organs in the torso and in the lower belly. Whatever is useful to bring balance. And that includes anything that is not useful to hang on to anymore, anything that may be in excess. Send it down, both what is useful and what is not, down through to your feet, allowing whatever is not useful to exit into the earth. Anything that you may have forgotten to disentangle from, this breath will do it also. You don't have to really know cognitively what is useful to let go of. It's enough to simply have this intention. I'd like to disentangle and be present in my own grace, my own compassion, my own light. It's enough to have the sincere intention, the sincere request that I'd like to let go of anything that gets in the way of connecting with my highest expression of my light, my compassion, my inspired action. It's enough to simply have the intention to connect to that light within you. And every single one of you has it and has it abundantly. Imagine now that that light is permeating every cell from the center of you out. Every space between the cells and even the space that's around your physical body now. Keep with and trust that it's enough to have the intention that anything that gets in the way of your light permeating every cell, every space between the cells, all the energy that is you in the physical body and what is around you, this energy field that's around you. It's enough to have the intention. I'd like to simply connect with this light, this center, so that I may remember what this feels like. So that when I entangle and it gets messy in my mind or with my mouth or with my actions or with my emotions, that I can remember that I do know how to come back to my center, to come back and to turn up the light within. You even can feel the energy of the light in your physical body now as we're putting this kind of attention on it and inviting it to permeate every cell, every space beyond the cells, behind, between the cells, and the space that's all around you. When we're in this remembering, it's easier to tell what's truly ours to respond to, or to not respond to, as the case may be. And to not mind so much when we may be interacting with the energy of another or of the collective even. And so it's almost like we cannot mind whether it's ours or not. We acknowledge, just like we did at the beginning of the call, and then exhale into the earth. Whatever might be in the way of us returning to acceptance, meaning this exists. Remember, acceptance and allowance does not mean that you have to agree on this 3D plane that we walk around in. It's simply the acknowledgement that it exists. And then imagine yourself disentangling from whatever you encounter that does exist, that has a vibration that you don't wish to continue to pay attention to. So there's no need to protect yourself. You simply allow that exists. And now I'm choosing to pay attention to the sentiment of grace, the sentiment of forgiving, meaning you forgiving, being unattached to what choices another makes. Oh, I noticed that. I noticed that. And now I'm choosing to not entangle in the moment of now. Pull the pieces of myself back in, choosing compassion, grace, a simple acceptance that simply means this exists. This is my experience now. No need to judge it as bad or wrong. Remembering that in wisdom there is discernment. Discernment does not have a cost of contraction with it. Judgment does have a cost of contraction or discomfort, dis-ease, distrust, all the disses. And a dis that is of expansion is choose to disentangle, to take or to unwind, to unknot, to simply pull your string loose, if that's all it takes. Relax, relax, so that you can easily zip it back in. From this place, connected to your light, which is always there. You can shine it brighter, turn it up. In any moment, even if it's for 10 seconds. 10 minutes, an hour, 10 hours, 10 days, 10 weeks. But 10 seconds is enough. When the light is connected to by your presence, by your choice, it becomes very clear and easy to choose what you would give your power away to, just by accident. Oops. And so, with that awareness, with your light turned up, choose personal empowerment. Discern what you simply say no thank you to. And if there's action to take from that place, it's inspired. So I won't speak for a few minutes while I encourage you listening to this to let that light permeate in any place that it feels like it's having trouble seeping in. Warmth, freedom, no tension, to simply allow that and then wonder what's possible as you breathe in and breathe out of that space, inviting in space and light, groundedness. Mm. I invite you to have an image of yourself in the future, tomorrow, the next day, where you might have had an experience of the past, knowing that you disconnect and re-entangle. You're in good company, first of all, so let go of any judgments around that. But I invite you to fast forward like this and be the observer of yourself. And maybe the observer of that observer, and watch yourself noticing that possibility of entanglement again or contraction as you acknowledge your response to what is happening in your experience. I invite you to fast forward that witnessing of pulling all the pieces of yourself back in, string by rope by thread at a time. Pulling in light from the top of your head down through the body, as we did. And connecting again to this light within you, which has never left you, is always there for you to amplify and turn up at any time. And in closing, I invite you, whether you're listening to this for the first time or if you replay it later, to write down a few words of what amplifying your light allows you to more easily connect with. What sentiment does it more easily? And on any given day, it could be a different sentiment, patience, grace, forgiveness of self, for thoughts, forgiveness of another. And if you return to this practice, see what the light is allowing you to connect with at another time. Inspired action. Ease and letting go. Acceptance for what exists. Returning to unconditional love, whatever it may be. There's no need to open your eyes or come out of this if you are enjoying where you are right now. I will simply sign off. Feel free to follow up with me at any time about any questions about what we did, and I shall follow up with you so you have a link to this recording. Much appreciation for being here and choosing this, and I appreciate the donations. I'll post also in the follow-up where they went to, where they will be going to. Much love. Good night. Good afternoon.